Hello everyone, and welcome back to the homestead. Jack here. Working at a farm store. Whoa, let's turn you down. Working at a farm store every year. People come into the store and I see a lot of people that wait until we get our chicks in, and they wait for different breeds. Every couple of days they're calling the store and they're trying to see, what do you have in today? What do you have for chicks? And a lot of the time in talking to them, it sounds like the reason they come to the feed store is because they're just scared to get chicks in the mail directly from a hatchery. Today, I want to dispel some of those myths. But first, we're going to feed the pigs. Things have been just going nuts here on the farm. As I mentioned in a previous video, all of our animals have showed up for the year. And a couple days ago, the gentleman who was going to be stumping our new pasture land for us, he came out and he started doing that process. You can see behind me, it's starting to get smoothed out. He's got some stumps piled up over here. This is really labor-intensive work, and I'm glad to have somebody with a piece of heavy equipment doing it, so I don't have to be doing it by hand. So a lot of the people that come into the feed store I work at are concerned about getting a particular breed or, you know, something that they view as best for their farm. And that's totally cool. Different chicken breeds or poultry breeds, they have different qualities. But being that we're an actual store, we don't have the ability to have everything. And that's where ordering your chicks in the mail comes in. And honestly, for us, even though I work at a store that sells poultry, I order our chicks in every year. Let me pull that out. Go ahead. Good morning. What are these?
Chicks.
Yeah? What kind of chicks?
Meat birds.
They are the meat birds, yep. And then what's over there?
Ducks.
Those are ducks.
And turkeys.
And turkeys. Welcome to our fancy brooder for 2022. We've got our first batch of meat birds going over there, our Cornish crosses that we order from McMurray every year. We like to raise Cornish crosses. That's a whole other video that we could do on why we choose to raise Cornish crosses and how we raise them. But we have 40 Cornish cross going for our first batch. We have 15 turkeys in here currently. There are 10 more on the way. And we have 10 ducks over there, 9 ducks. One unfortunately didn't make it. That does happen sometimes. But I wanted to go over some pieces of information for folks that maybe have thought about ordering chicks before in the mail, but have been kind of put off by it for whatever reason. And I just kind of wanted to quell some of your concerns, or maybe answer some questions that I've heard over the years about ordering chicks in the mail. The way ordering chicks in the mail works, in a nutshell, is that the birds are hatched on a certain day, and that same day they are packed up into boxes and shipped through the U.S. Postal Service, typically on a priority or even a next day, depending where they're going at that level of service. When a bird like this turkey hatches, it has approximately 72 hours because of the energy that was stored in the yolk of the egg that was transferred during the hatching process. This bird has about 72 hours where it doesn't need any food or water, and it can be effectively shipped through the mail if it's done in an expeditious manner. This little guy right here, or girl, is a broad-breasted bronze from McMurray Hatchery. Oh, jumping around. These are new for McMurray this year, and we're giving them a shot. And so far, it's still really early, but we're pretty happy. Yeah. So you've got a 72-hour window where you can get these guys and gals going through the mail. And aside from the lack of heat, they have everything they need for that 72-hour trip. Now, to address the lack of heat, hatcheries will only ship birds during certain times of the year. A lot of the time, hatcheries will also keep an eye on weather patterns in the United States. If there are crazy weather patterns happening where they don't think that they'll be able to ship birds, hatcheries have in the past just said, no, we're not shipping birds this week. But typically around April, sometimes in March, you'll see hatcheries start offering birds available to certain regions. And then as other regions of the country warm up, they'll be shipping birds to those areas as well. To keep things warm too, they'll also have minimums of birds that they ship. Typically for most hatcheries, I know it's 10 birds minimum. In the past, it's been as high as 15. It really depends on the time of year and the weather and patterns as well. But I know for McMurray, at least this time of year where we live, 10 birds is the minimum. And that's why we have 10 more turkeys coming, because that's what the smallest they were able to ship. That's also why we have 10 ducks in the brooder right now. We actually didn't want 10 ducks. We only wanted 6 to add to our flock this year. But we found somebody local that we knew that also wanted to add some ducks. So she ordered 4, we ordered 6. And we're just going to split the shipment up in another week or so. All right, everyone's looking good in there. Let's close it back up. So the way it works when you're ordering birds in the mail is you'll be given an option of a bunch of different ship dates when you're placing your order. And you can select when you want those birds to show up. I'll always advise people to pick a week in your area where the temperatures are typically above 60 degrees. You'll get a notification from the hatchery when your birds actually ship, along with a tracking number, and then you'll be able to follow those birds into your local post office. Now, the chicks are not going to show up at your house like a normal package would. They're actually going to go to the post office, your local post office, and your local post office is going to give you a call and you have to come pick them up. Now, the reason for that should be pretty obvious, but if it's not, you want those chicks to have a relatively climate controlled environment the entire time until you're able to get them under a heat lamp. So while they don't really need heat while they're in transit, you don't want them getting too cold, or you don't want them getting too warm either. Now, personally, I like to take the day off when I know I'm going to be getting chicks. That way I know if they show up early in the morning, I can go pick them up as quickly as possible and I can get them into a brooder. Or if they show up a little bit later in the day, which doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does, you can make it to the post office then. Once your chicks show up at the post office and you bring them home, taking care of them is going to be just the same as if you had gone to a store and purchased your chicks locally. When we put our chicks in the brooder, we do like to dip their beaks in the water just so they know where that water is. They can kind of understand, oh, red bellwater, that's where I get my thirst quenching sustenance. We do also like to give our chicks just water for the first couple hours before we introduce food. One, it gets them good and hydrated from their trip. But 2, it also tends to help a little bit with pasty butt, we've noticed. By having the birds hydrated before they're intaking food, their stools tend to be a little bit softer and pasty butt's less of an issue. Sometimes when you open your shipment from the hatchery, you'll see there may be a few extra chicks in there. Not something the hatchery did by mistake. Sometimes they'll give you a few extra chicks in there to make sure that everyone is able to make the trip that you paid for. You know, if you order 20 chicks and you lose 2, that's 18 chicks. Really what they want to do is they want to make sure you get everything you were budgeted for. So sometimes they'll ship 22 chicks, 23 chicks to make sure that if some don't make the trip, you still have the number that you ordered. But the biggest thing with ordering online is that barring any crazy situations, you know that you're going to get what you want when it's available, or that it's going to be available to you because you've placed your order in advance, versus just calling the feed store weekly, hoping they have what you want and having to run down there if they do, hoping that nobody else has beat you to the punch. Definitely knowing that you're going to be able to get what you want is a huge stress reliever when it comes to having a small farmer homestead. Hopefully this video quelled some of your fears about ordering chickens online if you've never done it before. If you have ordered chickens online and you have a favorite hatchery, leave it down in the comments down below. We'd love to hear it. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.